Hi everyone, this is Lisa Blair. I'm coming to you from Santa Fe, New Mexico. I am a process-oriented facilitator and psychotherapist with a women-centered international private practice. And to learn more about my work, please visit my website at www.lisablairma.com. In today's Therapy Under 5 video extended version, I'm going to be talking about highly sensitive people and transitions. And I'll obviously explain more about what I mean by transitions as we go forward. But first, I want to say a little bit about what it means to be a highly sensitive person. That is a trait that Dr. Elaine Aron and her colleagues researched heavily. She's written many excellent books about the subject. She really has been the pioneer to bring the experience of highly sensitive people into the public's attention. It's a trait that affects about 15 to 20% of the population. I myself identify as highly sensitive. And so I wanted to just take a moment first and define a little bit about what that means in case you're not really familiar with it. So the acronym that Dr. Aron uses is DOES, D-O-E-S, and each letter stands for a certain aspect of what it means to be highly sensitive. So the first letter, D, stands for depth of processing, and that means that you take, as a highly sensitive person, you likely take longer to process your feelings, and they tend to process in sort of a deeper part of you than perhaps non-HSPs. Both positive and negative experiences and feelings you take longer to process. This can be perhaps one of the easiest ways to see how this could be different between a highly sensitive person and a non-HSP is, say you have a conflict. You're an HSP with a non-HSP, you have a conflict. Then that person is more likely to kind of bounce back more quickly from that conflict. Of course, this isn't always true. There's a million exceptions to this. But as a general rule, non-HSPs tend to rebound more quickly from conflict, whereas HSPs, even if the conflict gets resolved well, they tend to linger on those feelings longer. It takes a longer time to kind of come back and feel okay again. So basically it means to emotionally and cognitively process an event. It just takes you longer than other people, and it's just good to know that about yourself. So one person takes 3 hours to process something internally, and for you it may take 3 days. That's not uncommon. The O stands for overly stimulated. Easily overstimulated. And that means that your nervous system, physiologically, your nervous system gets over-aroused more easily. For example, studies show that children who are HSPs have higher levels of norepinephrine in their bodies. It's like the brain's version of adrenaline. And they have higher cortisol levels, which is like a stress hormone. So physiologically, HSPs tend to be different than non-HSPs in the kinds of hormones and chemicals that are running throughout their body. That means that they may feel more anxious than non-HSPs. They may feel more overwhelmed than non-HSPs. That means they're feeling those things more frequently and more easily. The E stands for emotionally reactive, and that simply is referring to your emotional expression. It may be stronger than non-HSPs. Frequently, HSPs might cry more easily. They worry more. They tend to feel more empathy for others, whether they know them or not. So it's more about the actual emotional reactivity and expression. The S stands for sensitive to subtle stimuli, meaning that HSPs tend to notice subtleties and details that non-HSPs might miss, might not notice, might not catch. You may feel things in the atmosphere, like moods, aggression, threats, forewarning before others do. So this is especially applicable with the coronavirus. It's possible that you, if you're an HSP, may have been feeling things and worried about things weeks before others did, when you just were hearing the first signs of things. You may have prepared more a while back before others did, for example. So that's just to give you a basic definition of breakdown of the trait of being an HSP. And now I want to talk about what I mean by transitions. So transitions I'm referring to as any time you're going from your normal identity, your normal status quo, and something changes in your life, and you're having to shift your identity, shift your mindset, shift your being, your internal compass into a new reality. And that's, of course, especially true with the coronavirus, because wherever you are on the planet right now, there was a normal pre-coronavirus, and then there's coronavirus, and then there's all these different stages of getting information, of cases coming to your community, of having to change your routines and your life, of people getting infected perhaps. So there's all these different steps to learning about the virus and having it impact your life that weren't there before. So let me give you sort of an innocuous example of what I mean by transitions and your identity shifting over. So let's use a positive example, because this doesn't just happen with quote unquote negative examples. So let's say you are going to plan a trip. You know that you're going to go away for spring break, and you and your partner or you and your family are talking about where you might want to go. It's 6 months beforehand and you're making your plans, and somebody says, I want to go to the Caribbean, go to a Caribbean island. And everyone, your partner or your family, everyone gets excited. Yeah, let's go to the Caribbean. That'd be fun. And you start, if you're an HSP, you start feeling what that's going to be like. You start imagining you're going to go to the Caribbean. Where might you go? Maybe you're starting to look things up online, and you're starting to, whether you're conscious about it or not, you're starting to gear yourself, your whole being, your psyche, your body, everything about you. You're starting to move your compass over to the possibility that you'll be going to the Caribbean for spring break in 6 months. It's hard to explain perhaps if you're not an HSP, but there's a whole adjustment period to trying to wrap your head around and wrap your being around this new reality. Okay, we're going to go to the Caribbean. What's that going to be like? What's the weather going to be like? How am I going to feel? What might we do? What am I scared of? What am I nervous about? What do I need to plan for? Let me plan for those things. It's getting to be a very thorough, detailed picture of that new reality for a very happy event. Now let's say your partner or somebody in your family says, no, not Caribbean. So like maybe a few days have gone by or a few weeks have gone by, and somebody says, no, let's go camping in the Rocky Mountains of the United States. Oh, yeah, let's go camping. Your partner gets excited, your family gets excited. Let's go camping in the Rocky Mountains. That sounds great. Now you're going, oh, whoa, stop the presses. Something inside. On the outside, you might be like, yeah, that'd be fun. But on the inside, something's like, oh, wow. No, now I've had to go from imagining we're going to the Caribbean and being on a beach and what that's going to be like. And now I've got to shift my whole self over to this totally new idea of going camping in the Rocky Mountains. It sounds like fun. I don't know why I'm not more excited. This sounds like a really cool idea, but gosh, that's way different than what we talked about before. Whoa, okay, this is going to take me a while. I've got to adjust my whole identity, my whole being, my whole psyche around this new idea. What am I nervous about camping in the Rocky Mountains? What do I need to do to prepare? Let me look into camping site reservations. Where might we go? They all, again, another thorough, detailed picture of what you might be looking forward to. And then as you make that adjustment, you then get yourself on board with, okay, yeah, I got it now. Now we're going to go camping here, and I figured that all out. So you've transitioned from your status quo, your current reality. Now you've moved yourself over to the Caribbean plan idea. That took a while to move yourself over there and start getting adjusted to that idea. Now that idea changes and you've got to go way over here. And it takes some time to transition from one reality to another, from one identity to another. That's a positive example. Now, if you've got a situation where your community is having the coronavirus spread more throughout your community and you're getting hourly changes and daily changes and weekly changes, maybe you had travel plans and they've now been canceled. Maybe you're changing your routines. You're not going out to certain places anymore. You're not interacting with people in the same way. You're not hugging people in the same way. Whatever it is that's changing in your life, and now you've got fears about your own protection, your family's protection, your loved ones, your community. You're worried about the community, about people who don't have certain resources that you do, let's say. That's a lot of new information that's changing rapidly. And so when you're trying to go from your status quo, your current life, and now you're changing to moment by moment new information, it takes a lot of emotional energy to make that shift. And you are likely going to feel constantly behind catching up, constantly behind processing where things are at. Mostly, I'm telling you all of this just as a normalization of what you may be going through. To know that if you are one of these people, you are likely feeling constantly behind, constantly not really in yourself. You're in a state of coping. Okay, this is the new information. I'm trying to wrap my head around that. I'm trying to wrap my body around that. I'm trying to arrive at this new reality, but boy, it's hard because once I get to this point, I'm almost like 3 days behind the new information. I'm trying to get to this number and this reality and this new practice. And yet they've changed it on me 3 more times. So I just want to normalize the fact that you may be feeling not really in yourself, not really grounded, feeling like there's too much that you can process. You may be feeling overwhelmed by that. That's normal, especially if you're an HSP. It's normal for anybody going through this, but I want to emphasize, if you're an HSP and it takes you longer to process your feelings and experiences, especially if they're stressful ones and anxious ones and they're strong and you're having strong reactions, you are going to feel like behind the 8 ball repeatedly. I feel you. I get it. I know what that's like. As far as addressing that, there are a number of things that you can do. The first one being just knowing that that's normal, knowing you're not the only one experiencing that. It's okay. I know it's not okay, but it's okay. What you can do, you can talk about your feelings. Talk to a therapist, talk to a loved one, talk to a friend. Talking about it, for many people, verbally processing it allows them to start to catch up with their own experience, catch up with their feelings. That helps you locate yourself and start to get more in yourself. That'll probably often involve tears, strong feelings, whatever, but it allows you to kind of re-enter your body a bit, right? There's this sense of dissociation when things get to be too much, too fast, and you can't catch up. So talking about it with someone you trust and who cares about you, that's a first thing that you can do. You can also journal. I really recommend journaling for things like this. You're just writing down whatever's coming to you. This is how I'm feeling. This is what happened. If there's a bit of the journaling which is just factual, okay, these are the cases. I'm catching up with this. This is what's happening in my community. Get the junk out of your head. Get the stuff out of your head. And then if you can, have more time to move on to your feelings. I've been so anxious today. I don't know where things are at. I'm worried about this, whatever. Just let the feelings flow onto the paper. Give them a voice. Give them an expression. Otherwise, you're sitting with it in yourself, and that's just going to continue to feed the sense of you can't keep up with the processing of it. So please journal about it. Also, maintain or build in practices that help you ground in yourself, in your body, in your feelings right now. So if you have a meditation practice, please continue that or start one if that appeals to you. If you have a yoga practice, deep breathing, being in your body, that can help. If you have an exercise practice, that can help. Again, being in your body can really help ground you, whether that's a calming kind of a thing, more like yoga, or different stretches, or if that's more of an energetic thing like running or walking or dancing or moving fast, like that's good too. So being in your body is also good. Having some reflective time in nature is especially helpful at times like these to kind of come back and be like, okay, here's nature, here's a tree, I can hear the birds, sensory oriented information. Look at the sky, the clouds, get yourself back into what's real, what's true, what's here, back into yourself, feeling yourself again. Don't worry if you haven't figured out everything about what's happening, but to kind of locate yourself again is super, super important. I hope this has been helpful to you if you're an HSP or even if you're not an HSP and just going through a challenging time as so many of us are with the coronavirus. My heart is with you. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.